In this video, I've created 4 players each for 4 lowly ranked Asian nations, and we're going to see if these perfect players can lead these Asian nations to World Cup glory. So these are our perfect players coming from many different nations. We have created essentially a perfect spine for each. So we've created 1 goalkeeper, 1 center back, 1 center mid, and 1 striker for each of these nations. They're all going to start off at 16 years old, and they're all declared for their country. And we're going to simulate forward 3 or 4 World Cups, at least until we see these players start to retire from international duty. And we're going to see where they can bring these nations to. So first up for our 4 nations is Brunei. They are currently 190th in world rankings, and they will have 4 perfect players to see if we can go from 190th to, why the heck not, first. Next up, we have Indonesia, currently ranked 149th in world rankings. We'll see if their 4 perfect players can help Indonesia rise up in Asia and the world. After that, we have Laos, currently ranked 187th in the world. They're going to have, once again, 4 perfect players and a perfect spine to see if they could end up doing something amazing. And last but not least, of course, we have the Philippines. And this version of the game currently ranked 134th in the world. And we're going to see if in this team, these 4 perfect players can elevate the Philippines to a World Cup. And to make sure these players stay in the game and have the best possible chance of succeeding, I have put all of them at various big clubs around the world and in Europe. So there are clubs like PSG, AC Milan, Manchester City, Man United, Barcelona, so on and so forth. So they are at the biggest clubs in the world. And for final reference, again, these are all perfect players. So they all have perfect attributes and have 200 current and potential ability. At some point, though, these players will retire, so we're just going to sim forward until they retire, coming back for each World Cup along the way. I don't know what this is going to look like, but we'll see if 4 perfect players can lead any of these nations to a World Cup, potentially an Asian Nations Cup, or even just like, if they could get to a World Cup knockout round. I think these players will be good enough to get to, with the new expanded format, these Asian nations to the World Cup. What will be more interesting will be to see if any of these nations are now able to make inroads in the World Cup. So with that in mind, we are going to go forward 4 years at a time, and we are going to look at each World Cup to see how our nations do. So we are in 2023. We're going to go forward to 2027. The World Cup will be in 2026. So this will allow us to see the whole World Cup and everything that happened beforehand. See you all in 4 seasons. All right, welcome back to 2027. Our players are amazing. They are all 20 years old now. Let's see how each of our nations are doing. Well, Brunei are now 134th in the world after previously being 190th, I believe. And they are in the exact same spot the Philippines were in. So that's interesting. Let's look at their senior. They made the Asian Cup quarterfinal. That's phenomenal. So did they make a World Cup? Doesn't look like they did. So they were knocked out in the World Cup early, so we're not going to get a chance to see them at the World Cup. That being said, Asian Cup quarterfinal for Brunei, that is phenomenal. Indonesia have shot up the world rankings 47. They were like 100 and, I don't know, something like over 150th or 147th or something like that. They made the Asian Cup. Oh, so spoiler alert, the Philippines won the Asian Cup final, with Indonesia finishing second. That's insane. And they made the World Cup. They made the World Cup second round. We will go back to the World Cup, but that means they made the World Cup. Okay, so Thailand won the Southeast Asian Championship. That being said, this is at a point during the year when European players aren't going to release their clubs for international duty for this. So we won't pay attention to the Southeast Asian Championship as we see there. We will be chasing, but the World Cup second round, of course, they lost to England. I'm going to be so disappointed if England ends up winning the World Cup. But an Asian Cup final, how cool is that? It doesn't seem like Laos have had any success. 183rd in world rankings. They haven't done well. Maybe they just haven't done much. They just aren't in much. They didn't qualify for the Asian Cup. So that would explain why we haven't seen much from them, but hopefully we will see more from Laos moving forward. And finally, the Philippines at a similar, very similar ranking to what we saw with Indonesia, looking at their senior squad winning the Asian Cup. That's insane. That's awesome. Oh, and a World Cup second round berth, but losing to the United States in the second round on pens after a red card. It feels like they could have done even more maybe without that red card. That's very unfortunate. But let's look at the World Cup. Let's actually see what happened. The US actually won it. The United States won the World Cup. Looking at the stages, let's go back. Let's go to the final. So the US beat Brazil in the World Cup final 1-0. They actually won the world. So the Philippines lost to the eventual winners. So France, Italy, Brazil, United States. And again, oh, South Korea, we didn't change anything from South Korea, but they made the quarterfinals. That is a fantastic showing. The US beat Germany in pens. But again, we didn't have anyone. South Korea had a phenomenal World Cup. That was an unexpected surprise. And of course, the Philippines here. And then I think Indonesia might have made it to this point as well, or maybe the previous round. I don't quite remember. Let's look at the group. So where did Indonesia go? Yeah, they did make the next round, and they finished in the second round somewhere. Oh, here we go. They lost to England 1-0. That's right. So some big movements as far as our countries are concerned. Brunei starting to improve, Indonesia improving, the Philippines winning an Asian Cup, both them and Indonesia making the World Cup second round, things that would be unheard of for these nations, and hopefully we'll see more from Laos soon. All right, let's jump forward 4 years to the next World Cup. Let's go to 2031. All right, welcome to 2031. Our players, 24 years old now, so they're starting, they're perfect, but they are hitting the prime of their careers, I suppose. Let's see how we're doing. Let's start off with Brunei, 93rd in world rankings. They've jumped up nearly 40 spots. That's really good. They made an Asian Cup quarterfinal, losing to the Philippines. But they are doing phenomenally well. But the question is, you know what? I'm going to save the World Cup. Let's just look at the rankings, and then we will go to the World Cup on our own to see what might have happened. Let's go to Indonesia now. 30th in world rankings. Indonesia are 30th. They might have done really well in a World Cup. Let's just look real quick to see. Oh, they made the Asian Cup final. Well, spoiler alert again, the Philippines won the Asian Cup. Philippines back-to-back Asian Cups, so we should see something from them. I'll skip Laos and go to the Philippines, so they're 23rd now. I'll tell you what, Indonesia and the Philippines might have done really well in a World Cup. And finally, Laos, 134th. So we've had the Philippines who started at 134th. After 4 years, Brunei went to 134th. And now Laos are at 134th. But that means they made the Asian Cup and they lost to the Philippines in the second round. But the real question is, how did any of our four countries make the World Cup? And for those who did, how did they do? Ah, man, Italy won the World Cup, beating England 3-2. You know the save is insane when England hasn't won the World Cup yet. But the question is, all right, let's go to stages. Let's go to the previous season. Let's go to the final. So again, Italy, England 3-2. What about the semifinal? Semifinal, oh man, Colombia and Brazil. Quarterfinal, oh no, we don't have anyone. We don't have any Asian teams. Not even South Korea again. What about the round of 16? Korea made the round of 16. Oh man, I was really hoping this was going to be the one where Indonesia or the Philippines might have done really well. But it looks like we need to go to the second round. This is where they were before. Indonesia, if you guys can see at the bottom here. Here, I'll go to their schedule so you can see it a little bit better. They lost in the second round to Germany after doing really well in their group, but losing 3-1 there. And then I actually don't see the Philippines in here. Oh, here we go. The Philippines lost 4-3 to Canada in extra time. That's heartbreaking. All right, and then let's go to the groups. So the Philippines finished first in the group and were amazing. 21 goals for and 5 goals against. They were phenomenal. Oh, that's heartbreaking to lose in the next round. That's so disappointing. All right. Let's see what else we got. So scrolling down here, I don't see anyone else. I don't see Indonesia or any of our other countries. So, oh, Indonesia finished first in their group too. Indonesia did amazing. Oh, that's kind of disappointing. They lost in the next round. And as far as Laos and Brunei are concerned, I don't see either of them in here. So once again, it's just the Philippines and Indonesia. Well, essentially the exact same story 4 years later. The Philippines winning the Asian Nations Cup, looking at the past winners there, beating Indonesia in the final. But we're seeing improvements from Brunei and Laos that since there's hope. And of course, both of these teams here, Indonesia. Oh, I just realized Indonesia won the. I didn't know there was an Asian Cup in 2024. Wait, Indonesia won an Asian Cup. Whoa! Hold on, let's go back to that real quick. I can't believe I missed that. Wait, Indonesia won an Asian Cup. Indonesia won an Asian Cup in 2024. Whoa, whoa. Oh, so Indonesia and the Philippines both with some serious success in this game. 4-1 in the Asian Cup final. Well done, Indonesia. I didn't realize that had happened. Well, on that wonderful surprise, let's again move forward 4 years. I think we probably have two more World Cups left before our players are going to retire from international duty. So let's move forward to 2035 and see what's happening then. Welcome back to 2035. Our players are now 28 years old. How are we doing, Brunei? 66. That's a huge improvement. Look at the Asian Nations Cup. Oh, they lost to the Philippines. Fair enough. They lost to one of our other teams. Did the Philippines win it again? That will be our question. But first, I'm going to save Indonesia and the Philippines for last. Let's look at Laos. 99th. Huge improvements from them. Did they make the Asian Nations Cup? They did, making the quarterfinal. Again, losing to Indonesia. These four teams, it's pretty much winning except for when they play each other. That also bodes well for them making the World Cup. All right, let's go to Indonesia. 19th. 19th in world rankings. They should have made it past the second round of the World Cup then. And they did make the Asian Cup final, but once again, the Philippines have won it in extra time. So let's go to the Philippines now. So they are 14th. Did they? Well, maybe a quarterfinal. I think we might be looking at a quarterfinal berth potentially. Looking at the senior squad, they were dominant in the Asian Nations Cup. And looking at the history of the Asian Nations Cup and the past winners, Indonesia and the Philippines have been dominant. But once again, the real question is the World Cup, and this save has the weirdest things happening. Poland have won the World Cup. How did Poland win the World Cup? I've I mean, good for them. Good for them. That is unexpected. Poland must be amazing in this save. They beat Spain 2-1. All right, what about the semifinals? How did we do there? No, no! The Philippines made the World Cup semifinal. They lost 6-5. They lost 6-5 against Spain. We're going to look at that in a little bit. In extra time. What a dramatic game. How did this happen? All right, what about the quarterfinal? The Philippines beat Denmark en route. I don't see Indonesia there, unfortunately. Round of 16, Philippines beat Argentina. Indonesia with an awesome berth to the round of 16. Well done to them. All right, in the second round, where do we have our teams at? Thailand. Thailand, if you guys can see that at the bottom here. Actually, they've done well. Indonesia beating Cameroon. Where were the Philippines? The Philippines beating Japan. I don't see anyone else there. So did Brunei or Laos make the World Cup? That is the question. Philippines actually finished second in the group, but still managed to get out of that. Thailand making it out of their group. They weren't one of the teams that we had. I don't see Brunei or Laos though, unfortunately. Oh, there we go. Brunei made the World Cup. Brunei made and won a match in the World Cup. They did it. World Cup Group J beating Ghana 3-0. One of our perfect players getting a hat trick. So Brunei have made the World Cup. We are delighted with that. Nearly, actually, they finished third, so they were close to making it to the second round. They were not far off. They needed probably one more point to do it. That being said, though, Laos did not make it, and Indonesia at the bottom here on 7 points, winning their group. So a lot of success here. But let's see what that World Cup semifinal looked like for the Philippines. So they actually took the lead. They had a 2-0 lead and then a 3-1 lead. Oh, a 90 plus fifth minute from Mikel Oyarzabal. They were so close to a World Cup final. I just wanted one of these, man, for the Philippines to win it. That would be so cool. They were so close. That's sad. And then France they actually went to extra time in pens. They had the lead again, but once again, man, to finish fourth in a World Cup though, that is pretty phenomenal. And I just realized 12-1 over Panama. Oh my word. Steven Regala with 7 goals. That has to be a record. Well, with each player being 28, I think we'll see a lot of them drop off and probably retire from international duty now. We'll do one more. This was probably the peak of it all, but why not? Let's do one more. Let's go forward 4 more years. We'll go to the next World Cup and we'll see what happened. All right, our players are 31, 32 years of age. This is it. They've started to drop off and retire. But let's see how we did. Brunei, 73rd now. Yeah, they've pretty much settled around there. Looking at Indonesia now, 28th in world rankings. Yeah, I think we're seeing where each side has settled. Laos, 84th. I don't know if that's an improvement. I can't really remember. And the Philippines, 24th in world rankings. So that's where they're at this point. So I didn't go forward to the next Asian Cup, so we won't see another Asian Nations Cup since so many of our perfect players have retired from international duty. But this was probably the last opportunity as far as a World Cup was concerned. And Portugal won it, I think is what I saw. So Portugal beat Belgium. The fact that England didn't win one here shows how crazy this save was, because Football Manager loves England winning the World Cup. But let's go to the semifinal. England lost then, but we don't see any of our club. South Korea have done really well in this save, making 2 World Cup quarterfinals. Although nothing from any of ours. Do we have anything here in the round of 16? Yeah, I think too many of them have dropped off. Second round, I assume this is where we might see Indonesia and the Philippines. Indonesia, if you guys can see down here, lost to the Ivory Coast 3-0. Knowing that, yeah, they've dropped off. They lost to Ivory Coast 3-0. They probably finished third in World Cup Group H. That being said, I don't see anyone else, and I don't see the Philippines, unfortunately. So let's take a look and see what happened. So in the groups, Peru topping their group and Algeria topping their group. Very interesting. China made the World Cup. That's interesting. But I don't see any of our teams. Indonesia made it, but I don't see Brunei, Laos, or Brunei, Laos, and the Philippines must have not even made the World Cup. The Philippines are 24th in world rankings. How did they not make the World Cup? So, whoops, going through here. Oh, they lost in the World Cup playoff to Algeria. So they didn't make the World Cup. Ah, man. Ah, that's a disappointing ending. Looking at the Brunei schedule, their players retired. They weren't even close to making the World Cup. And I'm assuming it's going to be the same for Laos. So looking at their schedule, yeah, they didn't do well in the World Cup qualifiers. So they were in fact knocked out as well. So Indonesia ended up having the most longevity, as they ended up making the World Cup each time pretty much. So that's it. We made 4 perfect players, 16 perfect players overall for 4 lowly ranked Asian nations. And they ended up doing good. We saw Brunei make a World Cup. We saw Indonesia win an Asian Nations Cup and consistently make the World Cup and do well. We saw the Philippines be so close to a World Cup final and win 3 Asian Nations Cups. And we saw massive improvements from Laos, but they might have been just a little bit too far down for them to do really well. Well, that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this experiment. This was a bit of a long one, but some really interesting results, some really cool things happening here. So, with that, from 2038 and four World Cups later, I hope you all are doing well. I hope you all are having a wonderful week, and I will see you all very soon. Bye.